Welcome back to 10 Underground. You already know what it is.
It's Dizzy.
Special guest today.
East Wizzy. What's up?
What community you from, man?
Big Cup, baby. Oh, no, you. Anything's better than Wolftown, I tell you.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. YOB's where it's at. We let it out. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's good to have you with us.
Good to be here, man.
Yeah, we've been cool for a while. We went to the same high school together. At Cherokee, actually. So when I came back from boarding school, went to Cherokee Central.
Yeah.
And that's where we would have had ties and we're acquainted with each other.
I mean, each graduating class had 70 people?
Yeah.
Everybody knew everybody over there.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I kind of feel like it was just enough people to not really have to deal with everybody. I guess. I don't know. For me personally, it's all different for everybody.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I got sick of seeing the same faces over and over again.
That's fair. That's fair. Maybe I'm just.
You talk to or date 2 or 3 girls, and you're like, it's time to talk to someone different.
End up being in the same friend group. Or used to be friends or cousins.
Small town shit.
It's crazy how everything changed though once you graduated. You can definitely tell who.
In what ways? What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
As far as who has real world experience, who hasn't been just locked up on the boundary after high school.
Oh right, they actually changed and adapted.
And have this real life experience, right? Yeah. Being on their own. So you went to school. You went to college.
Yeah, I mean, I went to school in New York City. Not the most proud of it because musical theater was fun and all. But I could have gone to school for something else. But that's what I went to school for.
What part of New York?
Well, the school itself was in Manhattan. And then me and my roommate got kicked out of the dorms.
Let's just retract back for a second, not to interrupt you, but give us the rundown from whenever you feel comfortable from high school all the way out. When you went to college and then come back home.
So I guess I'd chalk it up to the real reason I ended up going to AMDA was because I was dating a girl at the time and she wanted me to audition for this high school musical. Not High School Musical.
Was it the
But she wanted me to audition with her, and I thought that shit was lame at first, but then I just auditioned, I did it. I had a lot of fun. I can fit in with. I didn't really fit in with dudes, heterosexual masculine dudes at school. So I was hanging out with all the
So this is
gay
jocks,
theater
right?
kids. Yeah, I did
the whole jockey, jock nerd. Stagecraft. I did stagecraft.
Bro, I fit with everybody except the jocks. Okay. So I don't know. I was just in that environment a lot, and we had a woman named Chrissy Whitehead, who's now Chrissy Disbrow, was our director for musical theater. She got us auditions when we performed at Carnegie Hall in the choir, and I don't know. I aced the audition, and then I went to school up there, and it was cool and all, but it was difficult because there's a lot of minority demographics there in terms of sexuality and race and religion. Right. But I was one of the not only was I one of the few straight guys up there, but I was one of the few Native American dudes up there. Okay. So after being on the boundary, being surrounded by my people all the time, it's stepping out into the real world. I really got to kind of taste the minority pudding, It was weird, not gonna lie to you.
It's probably what a lot of people lack.
So what would you think of the biggest difference, besides the living environment and whatnot, but the biggest difference between how people interacted with you, non-natives interacted with you, compared to Western North Carolina to New York?
I guess I would say a lot of people, if you were to ask about someone's sexuality or something, it's a simple conversation. But it's if you read a good book and then you meet the author and they're suddenly bombarding you with all these questions, that's what it was like being native up there. Everyone wants to know, is there really a rain dance? Did we live in teepees? Do we still live off the land? Everyone's expecting me to be completely fluent in Cherokee. I'm I count to 10 for you. I can say the days of the week.
Right.
But But I don't know. It was really one of those things like.
Do you think that enforced like your native identity, or?
Oh, for sure. Because it was crazy to see how many people just didn't know very much outside of their own little box in the world.
Yeah.
They don't know too much about their own family heritage. They don't know too much about where their people come from. Like I know some stories. I know some songs like the rest of us do. I can go on and on about the clans and all that. But it was almost like they wanted me to talk about my cultural identity and take an interest to make up for their lack thereof.
Ooh,
and it kind of made it feel a little unauthentic, you know.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that pretty heavily.
Okay.
Went to a powwow up there. Like, you know, I used to dance
in the city.
Yeah, I used to dance grass dance with my mom and my brothers and sisters and all that.
Yeah.
And so I had my outfit up there, and I really wanted to go to a powwow. There was a lot of people there. A lot of dancers, but you know, it was a whole bunch of like a bunch of old white people in like buckskin and
plastic. How many indigenous?
Bro, there was maybe 2 of them.
So
they were Lumbee too. So you know,
one of the interesting things I found out, like living in California, is given powwows are more directly like correlated to Western tribes.
Oh yeah.
So when I went to a powwow, Northern California, it was all natives. You didn't really see that many white people because these natives, like, there's a lot of tribes in California itself. And
even in the states surrounding California.
Right. And I would say up there, it almost felt similar to Cherokee, but only during that powwow week where there were dances. Any other time, I was one of the few natives out there, given the school I was at.
I feel like that ties a lot into when it's convenient. Certain people, right? Kind of like we talked about in a previous podcast, where being in certain areas, I was expected to act a certain thing based off of what they knew or what I looked like. And then over time, it was like if I went to a different area, whatever their situation was. So just to give you a short example, like going to boarding school, right? There's a ton of black kids, African Americans, kids from Africa, from the Bahamas, all different kinds of black kids, right? I wasn't a black kid though, to them.
Right.
I was Cherokee.
I mean, to us, maybe.
So then I right. So then I come home though. I come back home and I'm one of 6 black people in my graduating class. Not even 6 in the graduating class. I was 6 within the school in its entirety. So like me and like 3 others, the brothers that were
the Evans boys.
See what I'm saying? There's only like 6 of us.
Oh, Sophia Daggs.
There's only like 6 of us, and only 2 or 3 of the 6 were actually all black, like 100% black and not Cherokee at all.
Right.
Everybody else was mixed. So it was like, you know, the Cherokee, you're black. You're in Raven Gap or any other place, you're Cherokee. I went to the bank yesterday. And as soon as I walked in, and this plays more or less into what I look like in appearance. As soon as I walked in, she said, "Oh, are you Samoan?" I'm like, damn. No, I'm Cherokee. Oh, I knew you were. Yeah. So she's like, I knew you were like indigenous or something. You just gave me a Samoan vibe. Your tattoos and you had scars on you. I'm like, fair enough, but it only makes sense to me though that if you're near a reservation, you see someone that looks somewhat indigenous, because let's face it, indigenous people, Native Americans, aren't secluded into their different tribes outside of being Native American, right? Think about it. People don't look at an American Indian, not Indian overseas.
Right.
They don't look at an American Indian and think, oh, he's Choctaw, he's Cherokee, he's...
Oh, right. They don't see that difference.
Yeah, they think Indian with the feather.
One grouping and
all grouping, right?
Distinction amongst tribes.
And that's because of us being wiped out and, you know, our demise.
I would contribute a lot of it to the film industry.
That too.
Because like any time, so like when the natives were back in like the 1800s, maybe even early 1900s, natives weren't even allowed to like really leave their reservations. Racism was still like a big thing, and like it was a big thing for black people, but there's certain laws, like in Tennessee, if a group of natives are traveling in a group of more than 4,
considered a gang?
Considered a war party.
Yeah, it's considered a war party. You can shoot them. They never abolished the law, and of course the law is ridiculous nowadays. Nobody's going to uphold it. But it's a testament of like back then, natives were like there's your white American citizens, and then there's black people fighting for civil rights, and then there's natives eating the scraps with the dogs.
Actually, look up, because I had a question about this the other day. I want to say, and I could be 100% wrong, but I want to say we didn't earn the right to vote until after women did.
Yeah.
So it was white men, women, black men, natives, then black women, right?
Right. Something like that.
Something like that?
Yeah.
And I may be completely wrong. I haven't been in school in years, but I mean, but just to finish the topic from earlier, though, with us being all considered a one unit group, I do feel as if that Polynesians, Samoans, you know what I'm talking about, Hawaiians, Islanders are all also divvied up into that group.
Oh yeah, we're all definitely generalized, thrown into the same category.
And it's unfortunate when you look down into the nitty gritties of it, because we all want our to be individualized.
Yeah, you want that individual identity for sure.
Right.
But people around here, I don't think
this also like reminds me of Hawaii in the sense that like they're a colonized group of people in the islands, and they're still fighting for the right to like have that distinction made between, they're not an actual state in their eyes, they're their own country, talking to people from Hawaii.
Right.
And there's a whole situation with that in regards to making that distinction.
I just want to say something real quick, because taken out of context, somebody will freaking hold on to that little snippet I just said, talking about how when I said we haven't earned it, what I mean by that is, like, you look at the tribe that, are you familiar with the Thomas brothers? They play lacrosse.
They play lacrosse, of course, yeah.
So, like, the Thomas brothers.
Georgia Swarm, right?
Yeah, Georgia Swarm. So the Thomas brothers, Samoans, Maori, Navajos. There are certain tribes out there that it's pretty common for people to fluently speak the language. Almost everybody goes to ceremony. The few and far in between kind of fall out of it, but around here, it's the exact opposite. I'm not trying to shit on that.
I would butt in and say that, for example, like the Iroquois and then the Navajos, given their separation from like the nearest cities and the nearest influence, the circle of influence, so given that they're so far away, they can group together. And then also, I think this ties into like the 5 civilized tribes, quote unquote. Given that, the first people to really have that contact with European colonizers, that takes a part into it.
I got a whole different opinion about the 5 civilized tribes. I'm not going to lie to you, and it's a hill I'm willing to die on that'll make me look like an asshole.
Before we get into that, let's just look at this. So the right to vote for natives or citizenship is 1924. And then what else was I going to look up?
Oh, scroll down a little bit. Right to vote. See what that one says. Just click on that arrow right there. Up one.
1924.
Okay.
So 1924, and then.
Dang, maybe we did get the right to vote before black people did. I'm pretty sure we did. Out of ignorance.
I'm pretty sure we did.
18s.
It was either not the right to vote, or it was citizenship.
Citizenship would infer that you have the right to vote.
Right.
But then there's a whole argument of second-class citizens, even with the Jim Crow era.
Right.
Let's see if this pulls up.
This was a conversation I had with right? Which I always try to deviate from having like an altercation with that topic, because it's not like
we're evolved past altercations. We should just be having conversations.
Right, and he's very passionate about who he is and where he comes from, right? And, like, I am
cultural
too,
identity and all that.
But at the end of the day, I feel like we shouldn't be sitting on who had it worse. And it's a conversation, and half the time he's joking me. He's just trying to get under my skin,
right?
Because
trying to get a bit of a rise out of you.
He's messed with Cherokee heavy. He loves Cherokee to death. You know what I'm saying? But it's like definitely a conversation where we easily got into a not yelling match, but a match as to who had it worse. And that's why this came up.
The Oppression Olympics.
Right, the Oppression Olympics. So it was more, and it's like, I'm half black too. What you mean? If anybody got it worse, I got it on both sides. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Not the best.
So I got historical trauma on my right, and I got historical trauma on the left. And it's just like, you know, so definitely, I think that's where I'm.
Bro, honestly, that's something I think also, when I went to New York, I fully understood how people just don't get that. Like how we have pride in who we are because there's so few of us, because in like a handful of generations we might not exist anymore blood-wise. But like
the blood quantum.
Yeah. There'll always be like black people, there'll always be Mexicans, there'll always be Asians, Welsh, Scottish, Italian. Like there's just so many of them, but it's like we're a whole continent of people that got wiped out.
There'll always be somebody that says my great grandma was Cherokee.
Was full-blooded Cherokee.
Full-blood Cherokee. She has long, black, silky hair.
You used to be able to tell in my cheekbones, but they saved over time.
Yeah, so there'll always be that individual. But true definition Native Americans to the T, original family branches from that tree.
Let me interject and say that even with like the other populations, how you're talking about, there's so many of them. It goes with the blood quantum conversation of having the enrollment card, having a distinction between are you federally recognized or are you state recognized. And there's a whole bunch of like distinctions made between our people. And I say our people as in general, Native Americans, but then they subjugate us to different groups. Well, we subjugate ourselves to. We are different people, but we are general people. Right. I don't know if I'm making sense in that.
No, you're making sense. You're making sense. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of cultures, like, because there's different kinds of Hispanics, and there's different kinds of, like African Americans didn't all just come from, like, one fucking tribe or one section. But I feel like for natives, for some reason, we be mad hung up on, like, what tribe are you from? You know, even if you break it down to, like, inside the tribe, we're always constantly trying to like kind of separate ourselves.
Tribalism within the tribe really takes a toll.
It does, man. It makes it hard to fucking share culture and learn something.
Well, I feel like a part of the reason why that is the way it is because slaves were brought over, right? And all of them were black. A lot of, obviously the predominant, huge, mass majority of them were black. But when they came over, they restricted our identity, right? We're brothers. We got sold, though, to two different people who sold us to two other different people, or not two, but another person that sold us to another person. I don't know, my brother, who he is, what he looks like, what his name is now, because each slave
they give him a different name.
Like, you know what? Their tribal, so their tribal identity, or where they actually came from, was just like stomped on and ran into the ground. You know? And that's, I feel like that's something that we subconsciously try to hold on to very apparent, like not apparent, but very, very strongly. So when he came in here and said, calling my heat, right? Our first natural thought was like, right?
I'm like,
so it's like, right. But in reality, it's also another conversation that we had. We all had this conversation. That regardless of where we're at, right? We're out off the boundary, outside of here. If we're in a city, somewhere else, I see you in trouble, never knowing you, but knowing a generalized. I know for a fact he's from Cherokee,
right? Or just if I see another native person and someone's heckling the shit out of him out there,
it's like we are inclined to stick up and care for one another. Especially, I can't speak for every tribe, but our tribe in particular, because our tribe is known for taking in a lot. And not treating them any certain way. When we would have war parties and conduct battles and go through wars where we had to wipe out other people in our tribe's name. We didn't go and kill and murder off children. We took them in if they were under a certain age.
And we did it all for the gram.
We took them in and we raised them as if they were children. If they weren't old enough to know, and take revenge, then they would come in with us and we'd raise them.
Fun fact, little tidbit of information. They actually had a specific tribe for that. Anytime we couldn't decide where to put someone in our tribe, whenever we'd bring them in, because everyone in the tribe had a clan. It was the Wolf Clan.
Wow!
No, it really was. The Wolf Clan was the biggest clan, and it's because they would adopt more people. Like, if you couldn't, I guess it was also because, that's where a lot of our, warrior clan, a lot of our warriors came from.
No, don't
it's
say
I'm saying it no kind of way.
Don't say I guess. Just say like it is.
Are you saying
that's for a fact? That's where most of our warriors came
So you're
from,
saying
because we were the strongest and biggest.
Are you saying
within our community?
As a connection to that, we're more disposable? So
no. I was just saying
the Wolf Clan, and they got a bunch of random.
Bro, wolves in nature, they adopt motherfuckers, and that's what a lot of our dances and a lot of our stories and a lot of our clans were based off of, was how we observed the natural world.
The natural world around us. So I think we still kind of practice it subconsciously today, though.
Yeah, but people are real sketchy to adopt non-tribal members nowadays.
Okay, fair, yeah. But in the sense of so to go into my personal experience, the mother of my child is nowhere resembling. She thought that's just what people said. Oh, you're Cherokee? I thought this was something people said. I got Cherokee, whatever. What the fuck is that even?
Yeah.
But after she claimed that I'm the first native she's met, and then she didn't even know there was a reservation nearby. So when I brought her here,
imagine that's the first native.
Imagine that. Could you go wrong with me being the first Native American you meet? I'm so kind and nourishing, cater to everyone. Would you like another slice of pizza? So, but coming here though, it was very I was very upfront with her and straightforward as far as our culture goes and what needs to be done.
I think this ties into dating experiences being native in general.
Oh, now I gotta be careful.
Dating outside Cherokee, and then also dating outside your Native American and general race. But in addition to that, the communal pressures to maintain that bloodline.
See, I be very when I'm dating outside of the native gene, it's for the people.
For the people.
It's for the people. I'm trying to bring the tribe back. You know what I'm saying?
Repopulate.
One unit at a time. Real shit. Story time, man.
Before that.
Okay, heard.
What was cringy as fuck, actually? Oh. So, we're not going to talk about what type of stuff it was. But remember when we all went out? That same spot, I think 3 days before, I went. And this guy asked me where I was from while I was at the bar. I'm just, about an hour out from Cherokee. Not too far, whatever. He said, oh yeah, you're Cherokee? Yes, yeah, I'm Cherokee. But, oh, well, I know it's not my fault or anything, or...
Yeah, they want to apologize.
I ain't got nothing to do with it, but I genuinely am sorry about, everything that my ancestors have done. No,
isn't that the most uncomfortable? Because what are you supposed to say?
So I'm like, man, I went in there. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to necessarily say I suffer from historical trauma, because when you look at it in hindsight, I suffer from the trauma that we have experienced now.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Deviating from historical trauma.
Sometimes, depending on the person that's telling me about that shit, I'll play it up.
So,
yeah, man, it's fucked us up over the years.
If you want to get my drinks, you can. But
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on like the white guilty conscience that some people hold to them? They overplay the part. Try to learn too much about it.
So this is a conversation most people are not ready to have.
Well, we're having it.
So, I'm gonna just go ahead.
We don't censor nothing on here but cuss words, depending on what kids are watching.
Yeah, like if we say, I'm just kidding. But so I try not to. When I say fucking, like if somebody makes a BLT and they put too much mayonnaise on it, fucking white people. Yeah. Or if I'm in this right lane, there's a car in front of me in the left lane. It's like a 2-lane way, and then they turn on their turn signal and they turn across in front of me. I'm like, white people. But really, I try not to hold too much against them simply for 2 reasons. One, nowadays a lot of white people do feel that guilt. They do. They actually do feel bad. We get frustrated with it, but they actually feel some kind of way. Like having that kind of stain on your ancestry. I imagine it's hard to deal with. But 2, you have to remember, like, natives had slaves, black people had slaves, Asians had slaves. South Korea, it wasn't South Korea back then, but Korea had the longest standing, historical tract of slavery in human history. All of us minorities did it, but the one people that kind of got together and was like, hey, yo, this is fucked up. It was white people. It started in the UK, it spread to like France and Spain, and eventually it spread over here to the US. But like throughout all of that, people in the Middle East, people in Africa, Asia.
Let me ask you this. How do you think the internet ties into that? Because given
beforehand,
internet, like you have your slave like trade and whatnot in your own country, but the internet kind of exposes everybody that transfer of information.
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like the internet is real quick, and not just with race, kind of with gender too. The internet's real quick to just kind of pit everyone against each other, to make everyone look like the bad guy. Yeah. Minorities are too sensitive. Whites are too oppressive. And that's not the case. Most people don't give a fuck like that,
The internet is undefeated, and that's why they say it's undefeated for that reason.
Yeah.
Because it's so good at manipulation, and people see the internet. I'd be surprised if you're not off the grid and you have no idea what is going on the internet. Like, let me rephrase that. I'd be surprised if you're not living off grid and you still have not checked the internet or had some sort of exposure to the internet that day. You know what I'm saying?
I would speak, like, obviously the age gap and whatnot, but our uncle in Wolftown, we can break this out.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, like, given that he, grows his own food for the majority of his, like, eating habits and whatnot, no influence on the internet, but then you see, like, politicians, for example, texting and tweeting and posting. There's still people out there in our world, in this country in particular, who don't look at it.
Oh yeah, because we all look at it like it's bullshit.
Well, I'm talking about
think it's the same, So
influence even indirectly, right?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about off grid, like you don't talk to nobody. You out there for months at a time by yourself. But if you live in Cherokee, right? You wake up in the morning, you have no cell phone. You're going to run into something from the internet as soon as you get to work.
Yeah.
And you know that.
Or someone will talk to you about it.
Right.
There'll be references, and you're like, I don't know.
You're like, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why it's everywhere. And it's just undefeated.
Man, my opinion on it is the internet's toxic. The whole world is always burning down. Everyone always hates each other. And I'm like, most people I meet, like, I'm not going to throw names out there, but I've got this friend. He's native, but he's a little racist and a little homophobic.
Racist,
but he doesn't.
Racist in what regards?
Like he don't really like black people, Mexicans, or white people.
A lot of people like that.
But like, homie, he's also a little homophobic, but he treats people well.
Yeah.
We got a couple.
He doesn't act on it.
He doesn't act. He like that's just his opinion.
Right.
And that's how most people are. I might be a little inherently I'm outing myself right now. Disclaimer: can't nobody on the internet fucking roast me in the comments for nothing about anything other than my forehead. I might be a little racist towards white people. I do have some
animosity,
just a little bit, and I have like a little bit of prejudice, some pre-made thoughts on them. But at the same time, I'm not just going to go out of my way to be rude to somebody. And like most people are like that. Right. But the loudest people are the ones that are getting a whole bunch of comments, whole bunch of views, their stories, their posts, they blow up on the internet. And then everyone thinks, oh, well, this one white guy had a whole lot to say about the Native American community, so all white people must disrespect Native Americans. It's just it's not that deep.
I think Charleston White is a good example of that, of having these outrageous...
Charleston White.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
All right, so hold on. Let me show you this clip.
Hold up. Put it on the mic.
All right.
I wonder if they got any on a more serious note. I wonder if they got any updates on Pro.
Nah. Last I heard, Asheville PD was really putting some effort out there. But I think they found his... What did they find? I think they found his wallet or something.
No, okay. You know what? Play this one, and we'll jump right back to that. I'll tell you what happened.
All right, so let me know what your thoughts are.
Jews, niggers, Asians,
blacks,
my God, whites, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, dogs, horses, fish, roaches, worms, butterflies, ants. Nigga, I don't like nothing. Nigga.
I mean,
that's not racist if you hate everybody equally, like how, like,
you forgot Indians
because he can't hate us. He can't hate us. Shit. Some of the best parties you could ever have is with an indigenous crowd. And talk about ride or die. Natives can't.
Actually, do that. So I was during my travels, I was in Key West one time. And one of my friend's uncles. He was asking me, what are you? Like, given the Spanish,
what are you question?
The Spanish influence, I was like, he was thinking, oh, you could be Hispanic, but you're really not, because, like, the features and whatnot. And he was like, I was smoking a cigarette then, and he was like, yeah, I could tell you was Native in hindsight. I could tell you was Native, because natives like to smoke and drink. And I was like, I guess this is a stereotype, but I guess so, shit. Yeah. But anyways, that's all.
Yeah, so I guess moving forward, right, and living off the boundary and experiences that we've had, it's always a risk for us to be outside, off the boundary, outside of our element.
Bro, honestly, it's a risk to be outside of sometimes. Like, depending on where you're at.
I would say that too, just because of the presence of the big building we're on.
Yeah.
I don't want to say what it is, but everybody knows what we got.
We know.
But speaking back on that last topic for the video, I heard that somebody found Crow's phone. Gabe Crow's phone.
For those who don't know, Gabe Crow is a missing or murdered indigenous man. He was last seen in the Asheville area.
God forbid murdered.
From our tribe.
Yeah. Missing from the EBCI. There's not too much that's known about him. People have been looking for him for weeks. It's been all over media, Facebook, all that. But yeah, that's what we talk about
right now. And he's one of the last basket weavers out there, especially in our generation, the younger basket weavers.
He learned from.
Oh yeah,
she's a good
big names. So it's really a big impact on our culture, who we are, because he was a very talented basket weaver. He knew it inside and out.
Not even that. I would say for here, Facebook is still pretty relevant in Western North Carolina, and we see it all the time, like people missing from other tribes, and to see that within our own tribe happening here, it was an eye opener for myself to think, wow, like it became real in the sense of, I know this person, he's gone. I didn't know these other people, they're still missing, or if they're found, awesome, but in different tribes. To have it so close to home.
And I feel like even some of the people that do go missing around here, it's always like somebody's on a binger for a couple weeks, or like if it's a kid that's gone missing, some parent just like took off on vacation with them and came back, but it got blown out of proportion. Like Gabe, somebody we went to school with.
Yeah,
you know, we know his face, we kind of know his vibe, you know, and the fact that he was here one day, and even if we didn't hang out with him, suddenly he's just off the face of the earth. You know, it's weird. It's scary.
I actually worked with him. We were both dealing over there, card dealing at the casino, and I remember when someone was asking around about him. Oh, I haven't seen David. And I'm thinking like he probably got pointed out and quit or found some other gig that was better than
typical
what we were doing.
You know, maybe a no-call no-show or something.
Yeah, like, you know, like it gets overdone. It's like beating a dead horse working there. Not the place in itself, but it's just like any job you do for a certain amount of time, especially if you have things where you're used to change, it's like, you don't really want to keep doing this. You look for change. I thought nothing of it until I started seeing posters. Gabe Crow. And it really hit different.
That shit was weird, bro.
Because I knew him, not because he went missing. Because there's other instances where little girls were trying to get snatched up at. We're about to get snatched up at
Food Line. Yeah, they put up all them cameras and shit.
You weren't gone. You were at school. But there was a couple times there was little girls trying, like, almost snatched up at Food Line.
It was all over Facebook for a minute.
The big thing about that topic is like even just the jurisdictions. A lot of times, tribal police are slower to act on things, especially in like the Navajo Nation, for example. And given that jurisdiction change between tribal and state police, there's a miscommunication. So a lot of times things don't get done. Things don't get accomplished. And to have that hit so close to home, it became a reality, I think, for a lot of people here.
Oh, for sure. Because like I feel like around here, people do typically kind of look out for each other.
Right.
Like even in law enforcement, they're still family to somebody. We're all still close. So it's like when that shit actually happens in your backyard, that shit. It's a strange reality check. It's terrifying. Talking about a reality check, man. Like I just heard about him here recently. I don't know too much that's going on with him, but that dude Cole. Native American actor.
The actor?
He's already famous. You know, he got money. He's got his life built up, but he's missing. You know, like, I mean, it might be more than missing. I don't know too much about the story, but it's like, it's scary. Like, even if you make it, I don't hear a whole lot about that poor dude outside of the indigenous. You know what I mean?
He was actually found and he was killed.
His hair cut off. His braids cut off.
He had 2 long, beautiful braids and they had chopped them off.
Nah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it kind of, me and Kazik were talking about this too, is like more or less, like we didn't want to step on the wrong toes, but we were trying to work on a more tangible product that people could buy to support this cause. But maybe, and we're a very matrilineal society. We're very women, like women hold the highest form of power in our society.
Yeah.
Right? In Cherokee society. Cherokee Tribal Cultural Society. Women are the strongest beings that we
run the world?
Girls. Women are like the highest form of beings in our society, right? So we're not taking away anything from missing, murdered indigenous women, and we respect what it's called and what it's for. However, at this point, I feel like it's almost gotten out of the sexual orientation range and more as natives as a whole.
Yeah, but there's so few of us.
Right.
And
because now we don't just have women missing. We got men missing and murdered.
Oh, that's something that people, I'm not going to say names, but like, it's one of those things that the media like almost never covers. There's this dude in high school. He got beat with a hammer, got found on campus, if I'm not mistaken. And to me, that's a pretty big deal. You know, some kid, like at the time he was a little older than me, so you know, I'm like a big kid, damn near grown. But in being the age I am now, I'm like, as a grown man, as a kid actually got beat up was in ICU for a little bit, but nobody talked about it outside of the school.
Was this at
CCS? Yeah.
Was this?
I'm pretty sure you know who it was.
Just to kind of tie into that conversation, I think there's a big culture here. Not that big. That's not that big. There's a culture here around not bringing up problems, not addressing stuff.
Oh yeah, they
pushing it under. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's the phrase. And even like the tragic events, I think people here are more prone to just not talk about it. It happens, not talk about it.
They know who we should get up in here. Something here. Oh, we're gonna bleep that out though.
Cutting that out.
Swear to God, we bleeping that
in time. Trust me, it's talk about. Tying it all back together, right? We don't really. We kind of think that things are just going to roll over and they'll pass when they pass. Just like things will happen when they happen, right? You wrote about this in high school.
Yeah.
About how natives and our general movement of what's going on is like
Shinzo Sasageo.
It'll happen when it happens.
It will not happen when it happens. Fight for the scouts, for humanity, for going beyond the wall. Those that know, my brothers. Sorry,
Attack on Titan was a good show.
Dang, you know about Attack on Titan like that? I didn't know that.
But definitely tying it back to the Cole incident and Dave, and hopefully everything for their families works out. And
honestly, you want to know what I think happened? And this is honestly an optimistic opinion. Because in my heart of hearts, Gabe, he took me to my first concert. He took me to Warped Tour the year before Warped Tour expanded. But, I'm hoping homie's okay. I'm praying he's okay. But kind of what I suspect happened is like, homie got tired of being around here. And I'm hoping that's the case. I'm praying for his safety. I'm praying for his health. I'm hoping nothing bad happened to him. But I used to work with him at the village when he was learning that basket weaving and stuff. I was doing like wood carving and like weapon making and stuff. Homie loved his art. He loved his people, but he seemed a little more comfortable being with himself, being detached. And maybe I only knew so much about him. Maybe I didn't know him at all. But kind of what I think is going on is homie just took a step away. He actually wanted to disappear, short of the morbid alternative. But I also think that's me being optimistic, hoping nothing bad happens.
Yeah, there's no problem with it. There's always, we got to be optimistic in these sort of situations that are very tragic as well, especially with someone that can contribute or has the potential to contribute so much to our community. But it definitely, there's always a lot more beneath the surface that we don't see. So, for example, nothing against Cole or his family or anything like that, right? And I didn't really look into this. I didn't see any paperwork or anything like this, but the word has it, right? And the internet's a huge place, just like we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
How it's manipulative and everything else. But word has it, through the internet, that Cole was actually being looked for the same night he went missing and was not found murdered, but the same night he went missing.
Well, actually, I think I might have heard that too, on like a domestic charge or something.
Domestic violence and something like that. Some sort of assault, domestic violence, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not from out there. I'm from the other side of the country.
Right.
But a theory that was conjured up and discussed about with me and a couple others was that maybe, just like Native communities are protective of each other, right? So you're obviously going to be protective of your immediate family.
Right.
Then within your clan and anybody from your community, and then anybody outside of that range, anybody from your tribe, right?
Right.
Maybe something had happened realistically between him and whoever that was against the domestic violence, was whoever called it in. Something happened between him and that female, assuming it was a female. And her family found out and went after him.
Without her asking.
Without her, because you know how hard it is to control
external third parties,
especially protective ones.
Oh yeah,
right. The radical protective ones, which are good in both. They're blessings and curses.
It's like if you got a daughter, some boy cheats on your daughter, breaks her heart. You might go
blessings and curses at the same time. They might have went after him, found him, probably went overboard a bit until it was too late. And someone also mentioned that they might have demasculated him from a native perspective, like cut his braids off.
Well, I mean, for sure. I mean, cutting braids is intentional. You know what you're doing.
Right. Just to recap on this, a couple years back, I think you know about we can bleep this out, but the family down the road, the mom got beat up by her husband and her sons. Remember, came up there and beat the fuck out of the dad. Like, beat the fuck out of the dad.
Was that with the back type shit?
No, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
That was,
different scenario.
So this happens all the time, right?
No, yeah.
Well, it's all protective entities, right? There's all good intentions behind it, but it's just not how society would like us to go about it. And I only say that because I disagree.
Society be uncomfortable with it, because they forget that we're fucking animals. We're honestly just a bunch of hairless monkeys that decided to wear clothes. We put 4 walls around us. We learned how to use technology. Like, we're actually evolved, sentient, intelligent animals. People forget, like, you threaten somebody we love. That same primal instinct that a mother bear has to protect her cubs. That's what happens. I don't think people are inherently bad. Right. There's some country song, I don't remember who wrote it. It says most people are good. I believe most people are good.
Not from a country song, though.
No, it's a country song. I swear. But I don't feel like there's evil people. I just feel like there's, on the actions speak louder than words thing. There's just people who believe different actions are appropriate for certain scenarios. That's what I think might have happened with Cole. He might have pissed off somebody. And then their family considered it an appropriate reaction. So, as much as I hate it, man, it's as a hippie ass tree hugging type motherfucker. I'm not gonna sit here and completely say anybody or everybody or somebody was in there. Somebody somewhere felt justified, but we all gotta sit here and have the conversation about what is justified.
And that's just the conversation I feel like will go on for him.
We could talk about this for 4 hours.
Next episode.
We can definitely re-up on the next one. So, and I might get a little backlash for it, but going back to the Cole situation, I do honestly feel like me personally would feel better knowing that it was an internal conflict between him and whoever the other opposition family was within the tribal system, within the tribal community, than if it was just something out of pure hate and racism. Like, for example, if I did something wrong to you, and your family comes after me, and I end up, something happens to me about it, I would feel much better knowing that it was something that went like a disagreement between me and your family, than if I was just out wherever we be, because all 3 of us do kind of roam. We explore.
Yeah.
We're out there.
We're stallions. And
we're on side quests.
So we're all the time. Then I would feel much better knowing that it was an internal conflict between our tribe, within us, than if it was just somewhere out and someone looked at me and said, "Hey, he looks dark and indigenous and not white, and let me kill him."
Well, this happened.
Let me unalive him.
This happened in the beginning of COVID with Asians being attacked because they're Asian. Oh my God, coronavirus.
Right. I didn't realize how universal that was. I didn't realize how universal that was, though, until I saw videos of even Asians.
Oh, yeah.
Like, randomly attacking them.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm so...
All jokes aside.
But I mean, like, when I think about racism and stuff, right, it's just like domestic violence and how we talk about this. When you think about domestic violence, when you think about racism, what's the... Domestic violence. What comes to mind?
some dude had 3 too many beers.
There you go. Some guy, some male figure, beating on a woman or children, right?
Right.
Right. When you hear racism, what do you think?
Real talk?
Just
some
don't
down home boy, you know? He's like...
A southern white man.
Some southern white man, not fucking
black.
A slightly tanned motherfucker.
You see what I'm saying? The stereotype within that, right? We're also trying to bring awareness to how manipulation can go both sides, right? Domestic violence and domestic abuse, especially violence and abuse, can go both sides. Because we've all experienced where violence and abuse came from our counterpart.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't a male.
Oh no, I had a chick.
You see what I'm saying?
One time she tried to reach for my sack. That's the only time I ever grabbed a girl's wrist. You know?
Reach for it.
And I always
no, reach for it. We're not going too deep, but I was like,
let's not dive too deep into it. But
be like water.
You see what I'm saying? Like it was definitely like
question mark.
It comes both ways, especially with racism. Right? Me being darker of skin, I always experienced the one side of it. Until me myself was like, fuck those people. But then watching it, and the internet's good as fuck at this, manipulating, right? I see both sides of it. In this case, it was eye-opening for me that I was like, are you fucking yo? Why are they hitting these Asian people? We get discriminated against just as bad. Like,
I'm not gonna lie to you. In New York City, that was one of those instances where I realized we are all just walking piles of we're walking piles of bone and meat and blood. Like, we're all the same. Like, up there, it didn't matter who I was polite to, what demographic I was polite to. If I held the door for somebody, said good morning to somebody, they give me a sideways look. But at the same time,
I think that's New York.
That's New York.
At the same time, if I was in with them, it didn't matter because I got along with Haitians, some Hispanics, you know, other groups I'm not going to mention, but like it's like if you get along with people, you get a. And New York is one of those things. There's so much culture going on up there. They truthfully and honestly don't give a fuck as long as you're acting right.
And I'm not gonna. You're not wrong. Your experiences are your experiences.
Truth.
Before I even took any type of trip up north, right? The furthest I've been is Kentucky. See my people?
Kentucky. 11 herbs and spices.
But before I went any further than that, right? I had met some New Yorkers in Georgia when I went to school. Shucks, he's from New York.
Yeah.
Grew up in New York. But they all said, there's a couple of them.
People.
Yeah, a bunch of people. Malik, there's a bunch of them. They all said, word for word, oh yeah, New Yorkers, like, people from north, standoffish as fuck.
Yeah.
So you can't take it personal when you open the door and they just like, ew. Because everybody's right, they all loud off rip.
Everybody's on their own agenda and it's all individual.
No, I watched a dude, me and this girl were smoking a blunt on the stoop. And I heard the door open behind me. I kind of looked. I was like, okay. So I scoot over. And so I'm sitting right here. And she's 2 steps behind me, but sitting on this side. She didn't scoot over. He goes, hey, yo, I'm walking. What? You know? Like, New Yorkers are like, I wouldn't say it's confrontational. It's very like.
It's just straightforward. And you
like, what are you doing?
Straightforward.
You outside my apartment building doing some drugs? Get the fuck out of my way. Let me get down the way. I like New Yorkers for that, though. You don't gotta guess what they're thinking.
Here it's all like they might say excuse me, whatever, but at the end of the day, what they really want to say is get the fuck out of my way, bro.
They might say bless your heart.
Oh yeah, but what they mean is for you. Suck it up.
I appreciate y'all for having me on here, indigenously for the people.
Thoughts, concerns, comments?
Not really. I do appreciate you coming out here, making the time, you know, sharing your knowledge about your experience in the world and whatnot, and being on the podcast with us today. We appreciate it, man.
Hope it's one of many. Thank y'all for having me here. Damn good fucking time.
Yeah. You already know. Go like, subscribe, comment, Check out our socials. We're dropping merch very, very soon. Be on the lookout for that. I'm talking about a couple days soon. So you already know. Like I said, fuck with us.